Hello everyone and welcome to Stormy Reads the Stars. If you are new to my channel, I'm Stormy and I have multiple hobbies that I have videos for here on this platform. You are watching my Stormy Reads the Stars playlist right now on my Girls Rock Productions channel. Feel free to check out my Stormy Teaches Music and Stormy Does Art for more of my content. Also, if you enjoy funny animal videos, head over to my sister channel, Shitsus and Giggles, for some cute animal videos with commentary provided by yours truly. I will provide a link to that channel in the description below. Now, on to the good stuff. First and foremost, everything I am doing here is all speculation taken from public knowledge of these two public figures. None of this should be taken as fact, as astrology and its relevance in our lives is always up for debate. While I have done extensive research in the field of astrology, I do not consider myself an expert in the field by any means. This is because I am always learning new things on the subject. I will not be using these birth charts to predict things that may happen to these people. These videos are going to be specifically looking at the basic personality makeup of each individual and state my opinion on the relationship compatibility. You are welcome to do your own research and form your own opinion on the subject. I will leave links to the books and the websites I use in the description below. Next, it must be addressed that these readings cannot be completely accurate, as I do not know the birth time of either of these individuals, so I cannot find the rising sign or what house each of these signs and planets fall in the birth charts. Both of these aspects are crucial in getting the most accurate reading. If you would like me to do a personal reading for you, subscribe, become a member, and message me with your birth date, time, and place. If you want me to do a relationship reading like this, be sure to provide both birth dates, times, and places. Lastly, I will be posting other videos going over basic astrology aspects like the elements, the houses, and the planets and how they affect each of the signs in our birth charts. These videos will be available for members only. So again, subscribe and become a member to get this and other content. Alright, now on to the rest of the video. In this first of 3 videos, I'm going to take a look at Johnny's birth chart. One of the first things I like to look for is the elements of all the signs in the birth charts. Which polarity do they mostly fall into? The positive, which are the air and fire signs, or the negative, which are water and earth signs. Now, it should be noted that just because they are either negative or positive does not mean they're a negative or positive person per se. It more is about the outlook that they have on the world. So people with more positive signs tend to be a little more optimistic, while people with more negative signs tend to be a little more pessimistic. Now, back to looking at this chart. I noticed a lot of earth and water signs, specifically the earth signs. Looking at that, I would think that this person is very grounded emotionally. They are also generally a more pessimistic person and tend to not trust very many people outside of their inner circle. I would also assume that this person is more of an introvert, especially with all of the earth signs and the 4 or 5 main planets pertaining to relationship building. I also see a lot of fixed and cardinal signs, looking at the modality in the major planets and the charts as well. So this person is probably very stubborn as well as very loyal. In general, I would say this person has a very strong personality despite having that mutable Gemini as a sun sign. With all of the stronger cardinal and fixed signs in their core planets, I think that Gemini would pretty much not be very prominent at all in this chart, unless, of course, their rising sign is either conjunct or trine to Gemini. But since I do not know the birth date, the birth time, I cannot really go into that. I don't know. So for the sake of this chart, we're just going to say that the Gemini is probably not very prominent. Now let's get into the meat and potatoes of this analysis and look at the 5 major planets and how they're affected by the signs. I'll start with the sun sign, which is in the mutable air sign of Gemini. The sun sign generally is how we portray ourselves to other people. So people with a sun sign and air sign like Gemini tend to be intellectual and crave social and mental stimulation. A sun sign in Gemini needs to be able to express themselves verbally, receive recognition for their intellectual abilities. They radiate talkative and mental energy they do have problems maintaining a sustained effort due to their mutable nature. So what this means is they basically, sun sign and Geminis tend to be very talkative, and they know on a lot of different things, but they kind of only know a shallow level due to the fact that they can't really dig deep without being able to sustain the conversation for a long period of time. Now, the moon sign in this chart is in the cardinal sign of the Earth cardinal sign of Capricorn. The moon sign best relays how a person feels connected to the universe and everyone in it. This sign reflects more the way a person feels about themselves as a whole. So people with moon and earth signs tend to react to changing experiences with steadiness and stability. They feel most comfortable with themselves when being productive and working towards a goal. When a moon is in Capricorn, the person tends to manipulate the world and others to achieve their goals. These people react with a lot of determination and self-control. They have controlled response to their experiences and are most comfortable when in control or being the provider. So Moon and Capricorns have an emotional need to be on top, which can lead to a lack of intimacy and self-nurturing. So all that can be seen in the fact that, his substance abuse, how he doesn't really take care of himself, and that he needs to be the provider in the relationship and be the person who is on top in his career over his partner. So yeah. Now again, this is all speculation and opinion, and it should not be taken as fact. So on to the Venus sign, which is a sign that generally represents how we express affection and love. This birth chart has Venus in the fixed earth sign of Taurus. When Venus is in an earth sign, affection and appreciation are expressed tangibly and physically. These people tend to feel love with another through building a life together and sharing responsibilities. Those who have a Venus in Taurus tend to express affection physically, warmly, and possessively. For these people, the need for one's affections can be hampered by their emotional stinginess and reluctance to lose control. These Venus and Tauruses deeply appreciate physical sensations and value material comforts and luxuries. So that can all be seen at that last little part and the fact that he owns his own private island. So obviously he does like the material comforts and luxuries. Then also it talks about the being very possessive in relationships, which can be seen in the fact that while his previous lovers, none of them said he was violent per se, but they did say that he did come off as a little possessive and sometimes jealous. So on to the Mars sign. Mars is the planet that represents how we assert ourselves and obtain physical excitement. In this chart, Mars is in the mutable earth sign of Virgo. When Mars is in an earth sign, it causes us to assert ourselves through concrete achievement, which requires patience and persistence. Physical energy is normally achieved through hard work and self-discipline. This is all done through modest, helpful, and analytical ways, with some petty criticism sprinkled in every once in a while for fun when Mars is in Virgo. These people thrive off perfectionism and fine discrimination. Their self-criticism and over-attention to the minute details can hold them back. These people have an underlying need to serve, which leads them to being able to work very hard. They also have a deep-rooted need to strive towards perfection to achieve their goals. So what that tells me is it kind of goes along the lines of he can be a little petty whenever critiqued too much, and that can be seen in those tapes. Also, he criticizes himself, and he overthinks things, and he has to be perfect. So that all leads to his self-criticism, and I think all that can be seen as well. Again, this is all speculation and not facts, so just keep that in mind. The final planet we're going to look into is Mercury, which is in the fixed earth sign of Taurus. This planet generally governs how we think and communicate with other people When Mercury is in an earth sign, thoughts are influenced by practical considerations and formed through traditional attitudes. Speech is expressed persistently, patiently, cautiously, and specifically with Mercury and earth signs. This aspect is heightened when Mercury is in Taurus. These people communicate very carefully. They search for correct word in every occasion, so express their thoughts slowly. When it comes to their mind, Mercury in Taurus needs to learn slowly and deliberately. Their retentive and steady mind makes coming to a practical down-to-earth applications to ideas possible. Mercury in Taurus has a need to express their perceptions of physical sensations, and they use very flowery words to do so. These people tend to be very private, which contradicts their need for a established connection to others. That can be seen a lot throughout many interviews and the depositions and even in the trial. He always looks for the most flowery descriptive words that he can find to describe every situation and tell his story, or his truth. And he basically, you can see that throughout all of the testimony. And you also see the fact that he is a very private person, because before all of this came out, you really didn't know much about what went on in his private life. He kind of kept that behind closed doors for the most part. Now, I'm going to go on to looking at some of the aspects each planet has in relation to other major planets, and I'll discuss my opinion on what that means for Mr. Depp. I'll start with the sun sign, which is in Gemini. This chart is very interesting in the fact that the sun sign is in conjunct, semi-sextile, and square to all the other 5 major planets, which means that basically there are no harmonious elements going on in this chart when it comes to these sun sign and these other planets. So the Gemini is in conjunct with the moon sign Capricorn, which in my personal opinion shows that the way this person views themselves is completely different from how they want to portray themselves. So they view themselves as very introverted, not really like open to a lot of people, and they are very hardworking and very career oriented, but they kind of come off as laid back and like they don't really deeply care about anything, and they pretty much are very confident, like we saw when he was being more assertive during the cross-examination. That's what he likes to portray himself as. That being said, that does mean that I do slightly believe that part of Amber Heard's testimony where she said he was very different behind closed doors and he portrays himself outwardly, but I do not think it is to the extent that she was making it out. I don't think he was like a completely violent monster behind closed doors from what I'm seeing so far. Next, let's look at the Sun and Venus signs. This is a semi-sextile aspect, just like with the Moon and Sun aspect. While this is an aspect that is not necessarily favorable, it does not mean there's really any serious signs of contention here. In fact, this is an interaction that can only be conjunct, semi-sextile, or sextile. This has to do with the way someone expresses themselves artistically. Semi-sextile signs usually have some common understanding due to the fact that their closeness in the cycle, they're about 30 degrees separation. This person is probably a very artistic person, which can be seen in the fact that he's a very talented actor and also a talented musician. Now let's move on to the Sun and Mars signs. This is what is called a square aspect, and so this could be a real place of contention in this birth chart. Square aspects are where the signs are inharmonious elements, in this case the Gemini air and the Virgo earth, and are also the same modality here. It would be mutable. This tells me that this person would have a problem in asserting themselves and taking action. They will be reluctant in coming forward since they do not like to show their own flaws to the public, which can be seen in the fact that he really didn't come forward on this until it was necessary to save his reputation and keep his kids from being bullied. So next we're going to look at the Sun and Mercury signs, which can only be either conjunct or semi-sextile, and in this case, the aspect is semi-sextile. This is where we get all the very artistic way of speaking we see in his interviews and depositions and on the stand. Because it is semi-sextile, Mercury is more than likely not a very prominent planet in this person's birth chart. Again, this is only speculation since I do not know the rising sign. If the rising sign happens to be in Gemini, which is ruled by Mercury, then the Mercury sign would be more prominent in this birth chart. Next, we're going to discuss some more of the moon sign aspects with the other 3 planets. First, I'm going to look at the moon and Venus sign aspect. In this chart, these planets are trine with each other. That means they are in the same element with different modalities. This means that expressing affections comes easily for this person. The moon sign is actually trine with all 3 of the other planets. So that means that the energy easily flows between the moon sign and the other planets in this birth chart. I would think that this person generally has a very strong sense of strong presence and sense of self. So basically that they're very confident in who they are. The Venus sign is in favorable aspects with both the 2 remaining planets as well. The Venus and Mars sign are trine to each other. This means that the energy needed for both intimate and sexual relationships easily flow with this person. So when they are happily emotionally, they are normally also happy in the bedroom in a relationship. They understand exactly what they need and want in a romantic relationship. And so that they're very well put together. They know what they want. The Venus and Mercury signs are conjunct with each other in the same sign. I believe that would mean that this person is very good at expressing how they feel in intimate situations, and they are exceptionally good at communicating with their partner. Finally, Mars and Mercury are both trine to one another as well. So again, this person is going to be very good at expressing what they want and asserting themselves verbally in any situation. In my opinion, all these descriptions have been pretty accurate when describing what we see in interviews, court depositions, and even his life testimony while in court. Mr. Depp seems very introverted, but likes to portray himself as more of an extroverted and confident person. He speaks slowly and deliberately. In doing so, he finds the best descriptor words, like when he refers to his severed finger as Mount Vesuvius. He did not want to come forward and kept quiet on the subject for over 2 years. He only came forward when his children's lives were also being affected by the lies. As I stated in the beginning and many times throughout this video, these are all my personal opinions based off of the public knowledge and applying my knowledge of astrology. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like and subscribe button and tune in to my live chat every Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week we will be discussing the analysis and also how each of the 4 elements affect the planets in our birth charts. Next week's video on the birth chart analysis of Amber Heard will be posted Monday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.